Okay, what's going on, people? These are going to be some episodes that I drop every Friday. Jamel, I have questions, and these are questions that people typically ask me when I'm out and about or when I'm doing any type of individual advising, counseling, facilitating. Uh, for those of you who don't know me, Jamel Jackson, your relationship mechanic. And let's see what we got here. This today we're going to talk about three mistakes people make while dating. Three mistakes people make while dating. And when I'm saying mistakes, please don't take this as if you made this mistake and you are the mistake. It's just mistakes that I see people make while dating. And we're going to get right into it because I don't want to hold you long. These videos will not be typically that long. And the first mistake I see people typically make is not knowing your core values. Knowing your core values is so essential. And when I'm saying core values, let me give some definition behind that. Core values, I'm talking about what are your beliefs, your ideas, principles. These are things that you're not willing to compromise. Oftentimes, I see people in relationships, or they're talking about their relationships, and they're like, well, we're just dating and we've been together this long, maybe it's 3 months, 6 months. And I say, well, do you know what your core values? Have you asked the other person what their core values are? They're like, no. And I believe if we don't give definition to where we're going, then it'd be hard to reach our destination. So core values are essential. Once again, those type your beliefs, principles and ideas, things you're not willing to compromise on. For some of us, it may be the person has to always uphold a level of honesty. They have to always be honesty. Some people do not take lying at all. And that's okay if that's their core values, if that's their principles, if that's their beliefs, the things they're not willing to compromise on. For someone, it may be the uses of drugs, alcohol, whatever that drug may be. Somebody may say, well, you know what? I'm not tolerating that in my relationship. For some people, it may be the amount of children that we plan on having, especially if you're serious and you're in a committed dating relationship, whether 3 months, 6 months, a year in. These are questions that you want to ask. How many children do you want? Because someone may be adamant and say, whether it's the man or the woman, I only want 2 kids. And the other person's like, well, I want 4 kids. Now, of course, when it comes to childbearing, you guys may have to, some people may be willing to compromise in that area. But these are the core values. These are the things that I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to compromise. You tell this to the person and you're like, you know what? I'm not willing to compromise. And the spiritual beliefs, that may be an area. Some people are not willing to compromise in their spiritual beliefs. That's one of their core values. Like, this person has to have a spiritual being that they believe in, God, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever that religious entity is for you, or spiritual walk is for you. Some people are not willing to compromise that. And these core value questions, these are questions that I believe we should ask while dating. And it's a mistake people don't ask them. And then we can get 6 months, a year, or 2 years into the relationship, and the person's like, well, I want to have this amount of kids. And the person said, well, I didn't know. Well, these are questions you should have asked. Or going back to the belief system, or going back to now the person's using excessive amounts of certain types of drugs, and you're like, oh my God, what are you doing? I'm not into that. Well, maybe you should have asked. And especially if they may have been hiding it. So that's one area right there. Let's get into another one, is not asking the right questions. So one of the questions would be, an example would be, how do you handle your finances? How do you handle your finances? Some people say, it's too early in the dating phase. We're only 3 months in. We're only 4 months in. I don't want to. These are questions to ask early. How do you handle your finances? This one, the last one, I'm not going to hold you long. I told you guys this. Knowing what you need versus what you want. Knowing what you need versus what you want. Let me explain this. Your needs are different from your wants. I always say it's in your needs that your wants are met. This is different from core values. Knowing what you need, knowing what you want. So many couples get into relationships and they don't know what they want. And oftentimes, when we don't have a clear definition of what it is that we want, then what we start doing is we start to appease the other person. And now we're doing what they want and not what we want. So we never really reach an area of mutual agreement. So one person's needs are being met and yours are not being met. You have to know what you need. You have to be able to express to your partner what it is that you need and what it is that you want. And once again, needs are different from wants. I always say this, it's in your needs that your wants are met. So know what you need out of the relationship, because everybody has a need. Both parties are going to have some type of need. For the man, it may be, I need constant affirmation or encouragement. I need my partner to be involved in my business. This is just an example. For the woman, it may be, I need you to be very supportive. I need you to be emotionally available for me. I need this. The man, it may be, I need sex. You know, these are just needs that people have to express while they're dating. And these are three mistakes that people often make while dating. They don't ask these questions. They don't know their core values. They don't know what they want. And what was the sorry, I'm getting over my notes. Let me get back to my notes. Not knowing your core values, not asking the right questions, and not knowing what you need versus what you want. So let me say that again. Three mistakes people make while dating is not knowing their core values, not asking the right questions, and not knowing what you need versus what you want. Listen, I'm going to come back next Friday and we got another question somebody asked me and we're going to dive into it. But then I'll also have some things I'm going to touch on. 3 things you can do when the relationship gets boring.